when we did, because these are on-call projects. And so when the project's not based on an emergency, we do request a proposal from one of the contractors, and it's reviewed by the project manager, and we make sure that the hours and materials are reasonable. If it's not any constraint on time, we do ask from both of the contractors to provide a proposal for the job. There was also a question in terms of how does the county ensure that its on-calls complete project work efficiently based on hourly rates and so forth. As I said, each job has a project manager, and so the project manager is assigned to ensure that we are getting the best value for each job coming out. And the third question dealt with what's the status of the county's HVAC equipment, including ability to continue repairs versus replace. Overall status, I can't answer that, but in terms of the question of needing to replace versus repair, each time we are looking at a job that needs to be done, we do take an assessment of the number of outages, the age of the equipment, the life expectancy of the equipment, and determine if it is in the best interest of the county to repair or to replace.
Great. Is there any other questions or comments from the council on this issue? Okay, seeing none, why don't we go to page 49, miscellaneous business item number 2, page 49.
Page 49 deals with Resolution 64-17, and similar to Resolution 65-17, this is a situation where the state's Maryland Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services will provide funding to assist our 911 center operations, but by paying monies directly to the vendor rather than paying it to the county. And so these two resolutions address requesting permission to accept the state making payment on our behalf. The first one, 6417, is a request for approval for $16,375. That will allow for the purchase of 33 additional protocol card sets. We have medical, fire, and police as dispatch protocols, and right now we have it all, computerized. But in the event that the systems go down, our 911 dispatchers need to and operators need to be able to follow the same protocol that's in the electronic version. And so we have these card sets that they can pull out and make sure the right questions are asked in the right order. Well, when we opened up the center and started the training on it, we got 60 card sets. We need a total of 71 card sets per protocol in order to account for the additional seats that we have in training, as well as some additional ones that we have at the backup center, so that all 71 have card sets for each of the 3 protocols. And that's what we're asking for approval for, not for county expenditure, but rather allowing the state to make payments to the vendor on our behalf for this amount of money.
Questions or comments from the council? All right, let's go to page 52, miscellaneous business item number 3, page 52.
52, again, is another issue where the state Maryland Department of Public Safety and Correctional Services has been and is willing to continue to make payment on our behalf to cover certain items. In this case, we're talking about training. And it came to our attention after the fact that that the state was making payment for the training of our staff to medical priority consultants, and that was going on since 2012. We believe that it was necessary to still bring that to the council to get your final approval on as I said, receiving permission to have the state make payment on our behalf. So we're in essence asking for approval of a donation of $277,566 much of it which will cover from past payments that the state has been making on our behalf, and then for an additional $58,350 that the state will be making, will be making during the first 2 quarters of this fiscal year. And so that is the request before you, that for the total payment on our behalf of $277,566.
Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Dorsey on this issue? All right, thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, if we can now next call up our Chief of the Fire Department, Mr. Carl Price, and if the council could turn to page 18, Fiscal Matter 3, page 18. Good afternoon, Chief.
Mr. Chairman, members of the council, good afternoon. We're requesting approval of a contract with Lion Total Care to provide for the cleaning, repair, decontamination, and rental of turnout gear used by Baltimore County firefighters, both career and volunteer, on an as-needed basis. The contract will commence upon your approval and will continue through April 17th of 2019, automatically renew 3 additional 1-year periods, and the compensation will not exceed or may not exceed $2.25 million for the entire approximate 4-year and 11-month term, including the renewal and extension periods.
Any questions, Councilwoman Ahmed?
Hi.
Excuse me. Is the turnout gear not cleaned and maintained on a regular basis? This is just, what does as needed mean?
Well, it is on a regular basis now. We follow NFPA, National Fire Protection Association standards, and those standards do change and update from time to time. And there was a time where we were doing our own cleaning and decontamination in fire stations, and then we were at a point where we were sending in outsourcing. But now it's incumbent upon us to use a certified vendor that's familiar with this, because when we put the turnout gear and things in it's got to be washed and cleaned in a special way because of the different vapor barriers and things that are in place to keep the firefighters safe. So It's important to have this. And I'll say that the one thing about this contract, we found it beneficial for the rental portion of the turnout gear, where we're a pretty large department, and we do have a lot of extra turnout gear should a situation come in where some sets of gear get soiled and they need to be decontaminated. But if the council members can remember a large-scale incident like the CSX train derailment, where we had to have dozens of sets of gear have to send out, and to have a vendor that we already have a contract with that can come in and size up our folks and provide that gear for them in a timely manner, it's very important.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments?
Good recruit class yesterday.
Oh, well, thank you for the members that attended last night. Thank you very much.
And I know we have our retired division chief, Councilman Julian Jones, with the question.
Chief, I guess thank you so much for taking this leadership role and involving Lion Total Care to do the cleaning. Cleaning it, first of all, the turnout gear is extremely expensive. A lot of people don't know what it costs, but just regular cleaning, when I first started, we would lay it outside and take a scrub brush to it and use car soap. And it was okay on the surface, but there's so many carcinogens and things in the gear. By cleaning it professionally, you not only do you extend the life of the turnout gear, but you provide a better garment for the employees who touch that gear, and cut down on carcinogens and cut down on them contracting cancer and other type of skin disease as a result of it. So I appreciate you taking this role, and I think it's the right thing to do.
Thank you, sir. Sure.
Great. Any other, Councilman Crandall?
Mr. Chair, thank you. Chief, just on behalf of the council and the citizens of the 7th District, can you thank the companies that responded to the large fire yesterday at Sparrows Point? I understand that it was brought under control as quickly as possible, and just appreciate the work that those companies did yesterday, and it would be good if you got word to them that we certainly appreciate what they do.
Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Chief. Appreciate you coming in. All righty. Why don't we next turn to page 20. We'll call up David Lincolns, Deputy Director, Department of Environmental Protection and Sustainability. Again, page 20, Fiscal Matter 4. So, Mr. Gardine, you can join us today?
Well, we try to schedule ones when you can come to the drive-on and the work session, and between the three of them, he had a conflict in one, so he couldn't do them all, so he asked me to come.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Council, Chairman Quirk, and the rest of the council members. The administration is requesting approval of a joint funding agreement with the U.S. Geological Survey from the U.S. Department of the Interior for the continued maintenance and operation of 17 surface water stream gauges which measure the depth and the flow of stream throughout the county. It's a 2-year contract. The county's contribution totals $370,476, and the federal government, USGS, will contribute $153,944 for the 2-year term. Again, there are 17 stream gauges which provide hydrologic data to assist the Department of Environmental Protection in planning our water quality improvement projects and assessing our goals towards our TMDLs and measuring the county's progress in meeting water quality standards. These gauges that are in the streams are already there, and this is for maintenance and for monitoring of them. And not only do we use them, but the Department of Public Works uses them for designing bridges and culverts and other things. And they publish the data, USGS publishes the data, and MDE uses it also.
Great. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, why don't we turn to page 23, fiscal matter 5.
The administration is requesting approval of a contract with Martel Laboratories to provide chemical analysis of water, soil, and fish tissue samples collected in the county waterways. This is a 1-year contract with 4 one-year renewals and an escalation clause for a total of $300,000 for the maximum compensation. We're required to do water sampling and fish tissue sampling as part of our NPDES and MS4 permits and as part of our TMDL implementation plans. We use the data to assess the health of the county's waterways and provide information on the effectiveness of our water quality projects. And it also helps us prioritize our stream restoration projects and aids in watershed planning activities. We collect many different kinds of water samples. We collect base flow of streams to see what the problems are. We're required to collect storm samples, which could be all times of the day and night. We send people out on weekends. Whenever there's a storm coming, we send people out to collect before, during, and after the storm samples. So we are out a lot of times in odd hours. We do use the Department of Public Works lab to help analyze some of the samples, and we will continue to use them also in the future, but they have different hours than we do. They close up and they're not available on certain days, and certain tests that we have that we need, they just can't do. Some of the toxic samples that we're now required to do for the TMDLs include mercury, include chloridane, include PCBs, and they just can't do them. So we did have to go out and extend, and that's what this contract is for.
Questions or comments? All right. Well, thank you very much for coming in. Council, next turn to page 27, fiscal matter 6. We call up Steve Hinkle from the Department of Public Works. Again, page 27, fiscal matter 6. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members of the council. We have the first contract we're asking your approval for is with ALS Group to do on-call lab services for samples taken from our landfill sites. It's a contract for 1 year with 4 one-year renewal periods, and the total compensation under the entire 5-year period is $129,000. Council did have a question as to staffing. In recent years, we have increased staffing from 4 to 5 employees, but at this time, there's no plans to expand the lab staffing at this time, but we are doing cross-training to do as much sampling as possible.
Any questions or comments? Okay, why don't we turn to page 29, fiscal matter 7.
The administration is asking your approval for 2 contracts for on-call maintenance and repair services to sewer pumps within county sewage pumping stations. The 2 contractors are DSI and Team Services. Once again, a 1-year term with 4 additional periods renewable with a total compensation of $1,600,000.
And we had one question on Fiscal Matter 7. Just to what extent have these efforts helped in, are there efforts being pursued?
We communicate with communities when issues occur. We've had some issues with the flow-serve pumps, which we're addressing and replacing those. And all the pump stations have an alarm, so we respond, as needed if there's any kind of overflows or malfunction.
Any other questions or comments from the council? Why don't we turn to page 33, Fiscal Matter 13?
Yes, this is a transfer agreement that we're requesting your approval for. The transfer agreement would come from MES, who is operating the central and western acceptance facilities to Baltimore County. Transfer agreement, if approved, would commence on July 1, 2017 and continue through September 30th of 2018. If approved, it may be renewed for 3 additional periods. However, we took over the operation on July 1st. One of the questions was that what kind of time frame would we need to assess the viability and the use of Tito as a contractor to provide basic labor cleanup services. And that'll be completed within 60 days. And the other question had to do with a cost-benefit analysis that may or may not have occurred. This was it was a low-bid contract that MES entered into, so we really can't comment on how that occurred before with MES.
Okay. Questions or comments from Mr. Hinkle? All right, thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
All right, next I'd like to call up our Director of Office of Information Technology, Mr. Robert Stradling, and if the council would turn to page 36, Fiscal Matter 8, page 36. Good afternoon, Mr. Stradling.
Good afternoon. Let's see, the first one. Let's see.
Fiscal Matter 8.
Yes, the repainting of our county radio towers. Administration is requesting an approval for 2 contracts which provide a painting service for our county-owned radio towers, in which are supportive of our 800 megahertz radio systems. The 2 contracts were awarded per site. They're 1 year with 4-year renewals, and they were separately awarded. One was $192,916 to Baytown, and $130,957 to Allstate. There was two questions that you had in the concerning compensation cap. The compensation cap had, what we did is we took the maximum per site, and we put a 5% escalation for 5 years. Typical thing, they're allowed to escalate each year. So, second question was around these are the one companies located in Kentucky. The award of this was based on a flat fee per site, and they were the lowest response bidders. We do not pay any travel expenses. It's in there, so it was a low cost provider. It's a very specialized painting tower. If you've seen the towers, I'm not sure I'm going to go up and paint those. They're a little on the tall side. So.
Understood. Any questions or comments on Fiscal Matter 8? Councilman Crandall?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Stradling, where is Baytown Painting and Marine? Are they a Maryland company, a Baltimore County company?
I don't know off the top of my head. I can get you that.
Okay.
The company that did it for many years was a Maryland company. We were lucky to do that. They did both marine painting. They did not. They did not bid on this past contract. Again, these were low cost bidders on these.
Okay. Can I ask? Is there a consideration made when we get these low-cost bids in, and that's the choice that we're making? Do we consider the increase in revenue to the county and the state of Maryland as opposed to just the actual cost of the thing? I mean, there's a benefit to hiring locally if we possibly can.
Sure. I mean, this was put out as a typical type of contract where we do RFB, which is a request for bids, and we usually, as long as they're bona fide, as long as they follow all procurement, we do award, based on who wins the award.
Okay.
There
For some
tends to
reason,
be
I think the
well,
administration is
there's-
about to weigh in here.
Well, we have a purchasing law in the code. It's in Article 10 of the code, so we follow that. There is a local preference at a certain point when there's, I think, a tie in the amounts that are bid. So that's currently the circumstance that we can do that sort of thing for the local bidder. When you have two bidders, I mean, I haven't looked at it in a while, but when you have two bidders who come up with effectively the same bid, then we can bring in the preference based, to break the tie. That's what's in the code right now.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? All right, how about page 40, fiscal matter 9, page 40?
The administration has requested an amendment to extend the county's contract with Motorola Solutions to provide continued support, maintenance, and upgrades to the county's public safety digital radio and digital voice system. This is a amendment to the term, which adds 1 year plus 4 additional years, and an increase in the cap from the current cap of $7 million to $16 million, $16,062,000.
Questions or comments from the council? All righty, thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
If the council can now turn to page 45, I'd like to call up Mr. Kevin Reed, Department of Health and Human Services, fiscal matter 10, page 45. I know fiscal matter 11 was withdrawn, but this is fiscal matter 10. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, council members. Fiscal Matter 10 is a request to approve a contract with David James LLC to provide specialized accounting services for the Department of Health's annual home health cost report. Our home health program is it's a certified provider that provides skilled nursing, physical, occupational, and other related services to individuals recently released from hospitals, nursing homes, or rehab facilities. The goal of the program is to prevent rehospitalization and to keep patients within their homes and communities. The contract commences on September 1st, 2017. It will continue for 1 year. It will automatically renew for 4 additional 1-year periods. And this was awarded through a competitive procurement process based on low bid from 2 bids received. Maximum compensation, including all renewals, cannot exceed $35,000.
Questions or comments for Mr. Reed? All right, thank you, Mr. Reed. All righty. If I could next call up Mr. Will Anderson, Director, Department of Economic and Workforce Development. And if the council could turn to miscellaneous business item number 4, which is on page 54. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I have 2 matters. Are we doing Resolution 6617?
Yep.
Okay, great. This is a request to support the Under Armour project at Trade Point Atlantic. The State Department of Commerce has issued a $2 million Maryland Economic Development Assistance grant, MEDAF, where we match 10% on that grant. Under Armour is using the funds to build a mammoth facility, as Councilman Crandall will tell you. It's to acquire, improve, and handle equipment inside that building. And with it will come 800 new jobs. We're on schedule to deliver that building and open in the summer of next year. So we would ask for your support for that.
Questions or comments from the council? Councilman Crandall?
Sure, thanks, Mr. Chair. Mr. Anderson, for me, the biggest component of the proposal here is that it's not only a jobs incentive for Under Armour, correct? It's a job retaining measure in here, in that if they don't keep those 800 employees for, what is it, a 5-year period?
Yeah.
Then the county would recoup their $200,000 investment? Is
Yeah,
that my understanding?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's a loan that will not convert to a grant if they don't fully meet those obligations. And it's a very conservative number based on what the project is actually calling for. But that 800 jobs was the number that the state and the county negotiated with Under Armour. But we're very confident that number is going to spike over 1,000 jobs during seasonal changes.
Well, from your lips to God's ears.
Yeah. Thank you.
Other questions from the county council? I just want to thank you for your work on this. I mean, obviously, Under Armour is so important, I think, to this area, for this county. including what's happening with Councilman Crandall's area, and also, even though it's not in Southwest Baltimore County, Port Covington, and the effect that Port Covington could have for jobs and for Southwest Baltimore County is amazing. So I appreciate the creativity on this, and I appreciate your work on it as well.
Thank you.
All right, so our next item is on page 57, and I'm going to tap the gavel. It's a public hearing that is required on Resolution 67-17. And Mr. Secretary, are there any public speakers today?
There are no speakers signed up, Mr. Chairman.
Public hearing is done. Mr. Anderson, Resolution 67-17.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for working on this project. This is in your district down there in Healththorpe. Maryland Rewind and Converting is asking the county to support an industrial revenue bond, which we do under the authority of the state for manufacturing type of projects, which this is. So this is a manufacturer who's taking over an additional building, expanding their current building, using the funds to add additional equipment. This is Good Wrappers. They make plastic sheathing for shipping pallets. So they'll be hiring a handful of new people with it and becoming another anchor down in Healththorpe. The county has pledges no full faith and credit. We do receive 0.1% of a fee over the life of this type of bond. So this resolution is to support that, and we would expect PNC to buy these bonds once approved.
And Mr. Anderson, I just want to thank you again for your good work on this. I love these industrial revenue bonds. I met with the leadership of Good Wrappers. Nothing makes me more happy than to see actually government and private business working together, helping create jobs, helping the economy. So I do appreciate your work on this.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the council? All righty.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Will.
Thanks.
Okay, if we could call up Ms. Terry Rising, Bill 42-17, page 1. Ms. Terry Rising from Department of Planning. Page 1. Had a little bit of a walk there. Good afternoon, Ms. Rising.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and members of council. This is for Bill 42-17 to place a preliminary landmark on the final landmarks list. Number 395, Mount Prospect, the Brellis property, house, shed, barn, and setting at 15101 Allison Road in Moncton. This preliminary landmark structure was placed on the list by vote of the Baltimore County Landmarks Preservation Commission in accordance with county law on January 12, 2017. The property was nominated by the owner. No testimony in opposition was received at the hearing. The commission voted unanimously to place Mount Prospect, house, shed, barn, and setting on the preliminary landmarks list under criteria 1 for its association with the My Ladies Manor area of Baltimore County and the historically significant Stansbury family as one of the earliest settlers in the area whose contributions significantly impacted the area's development, for its association with the equestrian history of Baltimore County and Maryland, which continues to be an important cultural and economic component of Baltimore County's agricultural heritage, for its significance as a collection of artifacts illustrating the historical evolution of agriculture which contributed to the development of Baltimore County. 2, as an excellent example of a vernacular structure that retains integrity and form, craftsmanship, and materials that reflects the community's distinct character and provides a physical reminder of the work performed by generations of both the free and enslaved in the 18th and 19th centuries. Part of the parcel, 8.42 acres total, map 36, parcel 140, tax ID number 101-905-1302, was delineated as its historic environmental setting.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Rising? Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
All right, if we could turn to page 65, Resolution 69-17. Councilwoman Almond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Resolution 6917 is an amendment to the Pikesville Revitalization District, and this would provide incentives in a part of my district that is in great need of some redevelopment to spur on the economy. So I would appreciate it if my colleagues would join me in this. If you have any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Any questions for Councilwoman Almond? And Mr. Pettifor, we don't have any speakers on this issue, do we?
No, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilwoman Almond. Okay. Now we could turn to page 4, and that's my bill, Bill 43-17. And thank you. Bill 43-17, currently Baltimore County zoning regulations regulate the placement of collection trailers, which is undefined on shopping center properties. And Section 415B-1 allows collection trailers, profit and nonprofit, to be placed temporarily on shopping center properties subject to a use permit granted by the zoning commissioner. The commissioner must approve the location of the trailer and may impose conditions on the permit subject to his consideration of certain factors, and these various factors are laid out in the bill. And if the collection trailer is detrimental to the property's function or the surrounding community by creating traffic problems, or, for example, if it's not maintained in a clean and orderly condition, the zoning commissioner will have more tools to crack down on these collection bins. And the reason, the genesis of this, and this is something the whole entire council has talked about at length at our various lunches, is more and more we're seeing these collection bins popping up all over the place. Many different places have these collection bins, and some of them are unsightly and not being maintained and getting a lot of trash, and it's become a real problem, and it's really becoming a problem almost exponentially in the last 6 or 12 months. And so I've been working with our Director of Permits, Approvals, and Inspections, Mr. Javelin, along with Mr. Petticord. I'm trying to come up with a bill that can help address this just proliferation of just really often unsightly bins spewing over with things that just are not being maintained. And so this is something I feel like we have a lot of consensus on the council, but I would open it up to see if any members have any questions or comments on the specific bill itself. We do have a couple of public speakers. Any questions? Councilwoman Almond?
I would really like to add that I think this is a good bill, and it will help regulate these bins. They really irritate me as I go around the county and see them, and I will add that when you call the number on the bin, no one answers, and there's no way to leave a message. So obviously, they don't want to hear from us. So I like this bill.
And thank you, Councilwoman Almond. And in fairness, there's a lot of really good organizations that do collect this and do a good job, but there are definitely some organizations out there that do a terrible job of maintaining these collection bins. And this really just gives us the enforcement power. This gives us the tool to really go after the people that are not doing the proper job, and really giving us that ability to really crack down on them. And candidly, I mean, this bill really came from the communities, all the community associations, all the people in Baltimore County. Loud and clear, I think the council is hearing lots and lots of complaints about how unsightly some of this has become really almost overnight. Any other questions or comments from the members? Everybody good? All right, well, we do have 2 public speakers, and because we have lots of public speakers today, we're going to limit to 2 minutes each instead of 3. So if I could call up our first speaker, Ms. Linda Smith, and what I would ask when you're coming up, just, there's no more stuff there. Sorry. That's the step as we move, so fortunately, the tripping hazard is now gone. Thank you, whoever did that. Thank you. Nobody is going to fall again, so that's good. Thank you.
Steps gone.
And if you want to just go sit right on the chair. Miss, do you have a handout?
One of the things I had with your bill, and I thank you very, very much, is that you were talking about private land, gas stations, and things like that. But when the gas station got tired of the rats and paying to have rat removed from his property, he told the people collecting from the bin, I don't want it on my property. So they pushed it into the MTA bus loop. He told them it's the MTA bus loop. It can't go there. So they pushed it onto Baltimore County property. And he said, that's Baltimore County property, you can't do that. And they said, oh, well, and they left. It was on property that Baltimore County has allowed us to use for parks in our community. We needed a green space. And the park is part city, part county. We were getting ready for our Easter egg hunt. People, there was no name on the bin, no phone number, no permit. We had mattresses, we had broken windows, and we had lots of junk. It had rained, the bags were heavy. There was no name or number on the bin. We couldn't call anybody. We called the police, we called the county, and it was like, oh, well. And it's like, if you're fighting rats, and we have been fighting rats, I've been president for 10 years in the community, we've been fighting rats. When you're fighting rats, you don't like that answer.
Right.
You know, it's just not acceptable. So thank you for putting it into a bill, because it's, and I told it to the Baltimore City, and the councilman for Baltimore City said, it's not a problem. And then the next time I saw him, he said, the bin's been removed from their property. So thank you very much for having it. I would like to see that it says phone number and permit and name of the organization.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Smith, and thank you for your work in the community. You've been an outstanding leader. Appreciate all your effort. And I'd like to now call it Mr. Jim Smith to testify. And good afternoon, Mr. Smith. It's good to see you again.
Good afternoon. It's good to see you again as well. Thank you for the bill. We really do appreciate it. It really is needed. And good afternoon to everyone. I am testifying for Bill 4317. I would like to verify that some identification on the box, whether it's a license or a working telephone number, or an address, would really be helpful to notify the company that it is full and perhaps overflowing. The people who put out the boxes don't seem to care whether it's on private property or public property. They just place it somewhere. And I notice that the bill focuses on private property, but perhaps a mention of public property, whether it's state or county, might be worthwhile. I believe also that the folks who put these out aren't really worried about compliance with anything. They put them out and hope that people will tolerate them. I believe that there should be some sort of penalty for noncompliance leading up to removal so that it can be taken away. Giving 30 days of warning is a long time, and I don't think they will heed that. We've noticed that a lot of folks put things there that are not requested. The box that you have a picture of there says that we like to have clothing and shoes, but broken mirror was there, and things strewn all about is not really good. And they don't seem to worry too much about coming back on a regular basis. So I applaud the bill, suggest a little bit of strengthening perhaps, and thank you again.
Thank you, Mr. Smith, and I will definitely be talking to Mr. Bostwick and Mr. Petticard about the different other ideas you mentioned and before we vote. So I appreciate your work as well. You and your wife make a great team, and appreciate all you do for the community.
Thank you.
Thank you. And again, there are many companies that have these collection bins that are doing a great job, but there are a bunch that are not doing a good job at all. And this will give us the tools, the enforcement. And in my district alone, I've had 7 or 8 community associations really talking about this issue because it's starting to get a real problem. And I know all the council members I've talked to have experienced this as well in parts of their districts. So I think this is a good bill. And I did want to thank Mr. Arnold Jablin, who was really helpful in working on this bill, and of course Mr. Bostwick and Mr. Petticord for your advice and thoughts, as well as Mike McAuliffe, who was really a big advocate on this as well. Any other questions or comments on Bill 43-17?
Mr. Chair, if I may ask the Secretary to add me as a co-sponsor, please.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Everybody good?
Thank you for your work on this, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, let's turn to page 7. That's Bill 45-17. Councilwoman Bevins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Bill 4517 seeks to prevent the clustering of assisted living facilities in DR zones. This bill would accomplish this by prohibiting a assisted living facility from being within 1,000 feet of an already existing assisted facility, for which the application for a use has been filed. These facilities allow up to 7 residents, and an assisted living facility 2 allows between 8 and 15 residents. This bill does not seek to discriminate against assisted living facilities or those who use assisted living facilities, or to put assisted living facilities out of business. Rather, this bill is to protect neighborhoods from being composed largely of these group homes. This bill seeks a balance to ensure the neighborhoods keep their character and can be a place where people can live and enjoy themselves. This particular issue was brought to my attention by constituents who live in the Harford Park area. On one street alone, 3 properties have been bought and converted into assisted living facilities. These facilities have 24/7 service where staff comes and goes, increased traffic, congestion, and noise generated from all the properties, including 911 calls for their patients. There is nothing in the county zoning regulations to prevent this concentration of assisted living facilities in neighborhoods. So this bill is an attempt to help residents enjoy the neighborhoods in which they live in. And I'm open to working with my colleagues on the council to find a suitable solution to this problem. Thank you.
Are there any questions or comments for Councilwoman Bevins on Bill 45-17? Councilman Koch?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have, Councilman Bevins, have you been working with the legal department to make sure that legislation like this doesn't violate any state or federal law?
We have had conversations with our legal team. Yes.
What is the answer?
Mr. Petticord? Oh, Mr. Boswick, I'm sorry.
There is literature out there from the Department of Justice and HUD that they would rather the solution to this issue not be done this way, but I don't believe there is anything definitive on the issue. That is their interpretation of it, but I think the advice that I gave your aide is that is not a reason not to make an attempt to avoid the clustering that you are seeking to avoid. You're not trying to limit the number of them or the zones where they can go or anything like that. You're just trying to avoid them being all together in one place. And I think that is something that is arguable, but I don't think it should detract from what you're attempting to do.
Thank you, Mr. Boswick.
Mr. Field, is that any other comment being county attorney?
Well, what he's talking about is that there's been some case law, not here in the Fourth Circuit, but something in Philadelphia, I think, that basically held, and I haven't looked at it in a while, but held that this attempt to, something like this could be a violation of the Fair Housing Act. There's not a lot of case law on it, but what he's talking about is something that we both found, that there was a case, like I said, from Philadelphia, and then this paragraph that we both found from the Department of Justice that said that it would be the Department of Justice's position, at least as of 2015, that a bill that attempted to break up the clustering like this runs the risk of falling afoul of the Fair Housing Act. There's not a ton of case law on it, though.
Any other?
I would just like to say I have to side with the residents in this community. When they purchased their homes, they were buying in a residential neighborhood. If they have a business on the corner or in the neighborhood, they know that over time that business could change. The use of that business could change through zoning. But when they have a 2 or 3 bedroom house on either side of them or across the street or behind them, and it is zoned, the specific zoning, I would think that whether they want to live there 10, 20, or 30 years, that they're going to have neighbors, they're going to have families, not a business being ran next to their home. And if you allow 3 on one street and then 3 turn into 6 and then to 9, that's not a residential neighborhood anymore. That's people running a business, which again has staff running in 24/7, additional parking in a residential neighborhood, which is zoned residential, not commercial. And again, 911 calls are very frequent at these type of homes as well. So again, we're not trying to put them out of business. We're trying to prevent the clustering of them in these small, dense neighborhoods.
The only other thing I would add, Mr. Chairman and Mrs. Bevins, is that same statement that the Department of Justice and HUD put out disfavors the clustering of these homes. They also advocate against clustering because they think I'm not sure what the right word is, but they don't think it helps in the socialization in the context of group homes, the socialization of the residents when there's a clustering of group homes. It's better if there's not a clustering because they will be integrated into a neighborhood better that way. So they don't want clustering, but they just question doing it this way. So even they don't want the clustering, it's just a matter of how you approach that.
Any other questions or comments? Councilman Couch.
Is it one company that's placing these?
No.
No,
No,
okay.
it's just affordable housing that they can purchase and turn into a business.
So it's not one company?
It's just not one company.
Okay.
Right. Mhm. And with this comes very large signs out on the lawns of assisted living facilities in the middle residential neighborhoods.
Other questions or comments? Everybody good? All righty. Why don't we now turn to page 6, Bill 44-17, Medical Cannabis Facilities. Councilman Marks?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. This legislation would state that a medical marijuana dispensary may not be located within 800 feet of property owned by the Baltimore County Board of Education. The other important component of this legislation is that it requires the applicant to notify the council member in whose district the project is proposed. As these dispensaries are being proposed, we're finding out about these later and later in the game. I know it's also an issue that the state legislators have shared with me from this area, and this legislation is specifically supported by the South Perry Hall Improvement Association.
Questions or comments from the council for Councilman Marks? I mean, Councilman Marks, one thing I don't totally understand on this bill is the 500 feet versus the 800 feet. So say if a school does eventually get built, then it reverts back to 500 feet?
Yeah, I think we need to clean that language up. The intent here is to stop the facility from going in near a future school site, one that is not yet built.
So we're making a law that applies to something that doesn't even exist?
One that is proposed for a school that will be opening in 2 years.
Any other questions or comments from the council for Councilman Marks on Bill 44-17? All right, I think we have 8 public speakers on this, and again, since we have so many speakers today, we're going to try to limit to 2 minutes each. And so I will call your name, and then I will call the person that will be speaking afterward, and then if the second person could get close so we can facilitate this fairly quickly. Our first speaker today on Bill 44-17 is Margaret Winchester, followed by Catherine Ward. And Ms. Winchester, if you just want to come on up to the chair here, and again, up to 2 minutes to speak. Appreciate you coming in.
Thank you for hearing us. We are not opposed to medical marijuana. We are opposed to this facility being located in the middle of a residential area. This has been a residential area for a long, long time, and this will bring in a lot of traffic into the area. It'll be opened 7 days a week. And medical marijuana in and of itself is not really the problem. The problem is none of it should be in a residential area. If it's medical, let it go to a medical area or community or a commercial community. If you have this with all of the money it's going to bring in, it's a strictly cash operation. And there's a lot of security, yes, but that also means it's wide open for anybody that realizes it's nothing but cash there. It is going to be near a school, and I don't think any one of us wants to wake up one morning and find out that you have a medical marijuana or a recreational marijuana dispensary right next to you or right across the street from you. And what is in my neighborhood today could well be in your neighborhood tomorrow, because as Councilman Mark said, nobody is notified of this until it's too late. And I realize that people make investments in it, but it's still in our area, and we have investments too. And I think something like this right across the street or next to me would certainly devalue my property. So I think while other people have the opportunity, that we should also look at what we've got here. It's going to bring a lot of traffic into the area, and when it does go to recreational marijuana, I think that brings a lot of traffic that none of us would want if it was next to our house or right where our children play. So I hope all of you will take that into consideration and think of the way we try to think when we brought this bill to say we didn't want to have it in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Peggy.
Ms. Winchester.
Thank you, Peggy.
Okay, next speaker is Catherine Ward, followed by Bill Huber. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for hearing me. It's really going to be kind of an echo of many of the things that Peggy just said. I've been an officer of the South Perry Hall Boulevard Improvement Association for quite a few years, and we've had our share of issues, and this is one right now that we're really concerned with. Peggy touched on a lot of what I want to say, which is the location. We're not opposed to medical marijuana and the benefits that it may give to terminally ill people or people with chronic conditions. What we are really concerned with is the fact that it is right in a residential neighborhood and the fact that there are numerous available strip malls with vacancies. One real good example is the Kmart shopping center, and that's going to be revitalized by Wise. Why wouldn't you take one or two of those storefronts and make that your location? You've got adequate parking, you've got bus transportation, and it's not in a residential neighborhood. Also, Peggy touched on the cash issue. That's a real concern because the federal government does not sanction the sale or use of any kind of marijuana. So there's going to be large sums of cash there, and that presents a target that we're concerned with. We also are concerned with what assurances do we have as a community if this goes forward and recreational marijuana is approved in Annapolis. Then we've got who knows how many people coming through the neighborhood, not just for medical, but for recreational. So we support David Marks and his Bill 4417. He has listened to our concerns and issues, and that's the reason the bill's come about. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Ward.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you, Kathy.
Our next speaker is Bill Huber, followed by Julie Winter.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
My name is Bill Huber. I'm a principal and general counsel for LMS Wellness. I'm here to present my opposition to Bill 4417. In December of 2016, Maryland Medical Cannabis Commission awarded our company a medical cannabis dispensary license, Maryland Legislative District 8. And to further clarify it, it is medical cannabis that we're speaking of. There is no recreational cannabis legal in the state, nor is there any idea that recreational cannabis will be approved at any time in the future, just so that distinction is clear. Pursuant to Maryland regulations, a medical cannabis dispensary has 1 year to establish a location, gain the necessary county zoning approval, and further build out the premises to regulatory standards. Understanding this daunting task, we enlisted the services of a highly experienced and successful medical cannabis management company, Health for Life. With the assistance of Health for Life, we were able to quickly find a property that fit our needs, and in our search, we kept in mind Baltimore County zoning requirements for this use, which this council passed in 2015. We followed these rules and were able to find a commercial property, albeit next to a residential community, a commercial property that allowed LMS to conduct its medical cannabis dispensary as a matter of right. Before we committed to this site, we received confirmation of this fact in writing by the County Zoning Review Office. In reliance on that zoning confirmation, we leased the property and began to make significant improvements, over $1 million by the end of this year. Only after we began to work on the property did we become aware of objections to the use of our property. We learned that it was from the South Perry Hall community. We reached out to them immediately and began discussions of those concerns. We had a very good and positive results of those initial discussions and are committed to continue that. However, this bill prevents the continuing of those discussions. It prevents us from capitalizing on our investment to date, and it slows the progress of this industry. And as such, I urge you strongly to vote against Bill 4417.
Just a quick question, if I may, Mr. Huber. So if I hear you correctly, your company that you're representing made substantial investments based on current law.
Yes, to date, we are approximately $350,000 just on the property out of product, but we have contractual obligations that will total approximately $1 million by the end of this year.
And you made all those decisions based on current law? That, I mean, just everything right by the book?
Approval of the zoning, yes. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Huber. Our next speaker is Julie Winter, followed by Faith Diamond.
Good afternoon. My name is Julie Winter, and I'm speaking in opposition to Bill 4417. I'm here in my capacity as COO with Health for Life, hired to operate the dispensary for LMS Wellness on Ridge Road. I'd like to try and dispel misconceptions about medical cannabis and dispensaries. It sounds like everyone understands that cannabis is good for you. It's not about just getting you high. It's a natural way to help heal your body with virtually no side effects or addictive qualities. It's a natural anti-inflammatory and anti-epileptic that helps decrease pain, inflammation, muscle control problems, reduces nausea. The whole plant extract helps control epileptic seizures, symptoms of cancer, Parkinson's, MS, mental disorders, PTSD. The list goes on and on. Secondly, what I would like to talk about is how the dispensary will be operated. We're strictly regulated by the state and have mandated requirements for our dispensaries that we must follow or we lose our license. All the cannabis is tracked through seed to sale. We are not just a cash business. Maryland has, as part of the program, required that banks do accept everything, and we will have debit cards. We do in other states that are much more difficult. So I just want to make that distinction clear. It's not only cash. The premises is going to be secure, locks, alarms, video surveillance, and guards. Our medicine is dispensed in child-proof, secure packaging. Absolutely no cannabis will be consumed on our property. Patients are required to use the medicine at home. I'm happy to meet with the community further to discuss cannabis and our operations. Please don't give in to the misconceptions. I encourage you to look up videos on YouTube or Facebook of people suffering from Parkinson's who receive immediate relief from tremors. For all those reasons, I ask the council members vote against this bill.
Thank you, Ms. Winter. And, I might suggest that perhaps there could be some agreement between the community and the company, maybe a covenant, or as opposed to some bill, basically good businesses make decisions, make investments on current law, and then are saying, wait a minute, even though you made all these investments, we're going to take it away. I'd have a real problem with that. So instead, I'd hope that something could be worked out with a covenant arrangement. So I find this very, I find this questionable. So thank you, Ms. Winter.
We're definitely open to that.
All right, our next speaker is Faith Diamond, followed by Michael Chenoweth.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and council members. My name is Faith Diamond, and I'm here in my capacity as the owner representative for development and construction for LMS Wellness and Health for Life. Having over 30 years' experience in real estate development, I can attest to the fact that these operators go above and beyond the regulations that are required. They have operated in multiple states, if you've heard, and they've had 100% compliance with their licensing, with their inspections, with their accounting, and 100% compliance in quality control. We actually have support letters from council members like yourselves from other states, from senators, and from adjacent businesses. And they've all written about what incredible professional business manner that the operators have run these dispensaries in. And the neighbors have actually commented about how wonderful their businesses have thrived and what great neighbors they are and what a contribution they've actually made to the community. I'd like to say that our CEO has been named as one of the top 5 industry leaders by Congressman Dina Titus from Nevada on the floor of the House of Representatives. What's very interesting and important to know is that they partner with local businesses. They're here to make your community better. They get involved in fundraising, in other nonprofits. They create educational opportunities and outreaches so people really have a better understanding, since this is so new for all of us. And I just want you to know that they're pioneers in the business, and that's why they have the accolades and they have these letters of support. I'd also like to talk about the fact that they have given back in these other communities to support conditions such as cancer, such as epilepsy, and I ask that the council members please vote against.
Thank you.
4417.
Thank you, Ms. Diamond. Our next speaker is Michael Chenoweth, followed by Ms. Arlene Roth.
Good afternoon. My name is Michael Chenoweth, and I am here to present my opposition to Bill 4417. I am also here to represent my wife, Anna, who is a prospective patient for cannabis treatments and a future patron of LMS Wellness Cannabis Dispensary. Anna currently suffers from Meniere's disease. Essentially, this is a high debilitating condition that causes severe neurological incapacity with the common symptoms of severe vertigo, nausea, vomiting, among many other symptoms. On a daily basis, I have witnessed my wife become half the person she was. Standard medication, whether it be Xanax, opioids for pain, or simply over-the-counter painkillers, do not work because Anna becomes too nauseous to keep this medication down. We have seen the research. We have been told by many healthcare providers here in the state of Maryland that medical cannabis is a highly effective course of treatment for Meniere's disease. So we wait, and we continue to wait for this industry to establish itself in order for Anna to get the medicine she needs. Bill 4417 simply provides another delay to this goal. We don't understand what the concerns are. We are the patients of this industry will serve. We are the types of individuals that will be purchasing this medicine. If you're questioning who will be walking in and out of these dispensaries, you need to look no further. We are waiting for the day she can control the constant nausea, eliminate the severe vertigo, just so she can go for a walk outside or possibly drive herself again. Or simply to know that my children do not have to coordinate their workday to assist in her care. What other choices do we have at this point? Move to another state where I ask that you vote against Bill 4417.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chenoweth. Our next speaker is Ms. Arlene Roth, followed by Glenn Gielhar. Good afternoon, Ms. Roth.
Good afternoon, and thank you for your time, and members of the council. I have expressed my thoughts to you in emails, and I hope you've taken time to look over them. My feelings are the same as what Ms. Winchester and other fellow members have expressed. We are not against what the man's wife needs. We are against it being in our neighborhood. When people right across the boulevard bought their homes in a new development, they were not expecting to find a medical marijuana dispensary right across the boulevard from them. This is not what they were buying for. I have lived in this neighborhood all of my life. I've seen many changes in my neighborhood. I've seen the hospital built. I've seen the college built. I've seen lots go on, but nothing that is going to make such a change in our neighborhood. Now, in a video that Mr. Seifert produced in conjunction with his Sun Paper article, he more or less blamed us for using or coming up with a last-minute excuse as using the school, which he said in 40 years no one had ever built a school there. I have proof, I have literature that says the school will be built. The money has been put into the budget by our county executive. The school is supposed to be built in 2019. Mr. Seifert also said that when he made the decision to lease this property, he thought it would help the members of our community. True, it might, but I can remember working for Mr. Seifert for 11 years as a capacity in a florist, and we did a lot more for the community and making our community a happy community and a community that was pleased with the product that they got. And this, in my opinion, is a wrong decision made by Mr. Seifert. And I thank you for your time, and I hope that you would vote in favor, because there is nothing out there that lets any of us know what's going on until it's too late. And that's why we're here now. We found out too late.
Councilman Wright.
I want to echo that, and I want to thank you for making that point. The only reason I knew about this was because my colleague, Kathy Bevins,
Yes, and she
called
didn't
me
even
the
know.
next morning and told me about this. And I want to thank Councilwoman Bevins. I wasn't even at that meeting. She was at that meeting.
It was her night to show
The only reason
up, right.
I knew about this. So I want to thank you for bringing up that point.
Exactly, and I thank you for understanding. And Kathy, I hope that you will consider our feelings. Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Ms. Roth. And our last speaker on Bill 44-17 is Glenn Gielhar. And good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, distinguished members of the County Council. My name is Glenn Gielhar, born and raised in Parkville, Maryland. In interest of full disclosure, I should also mention I'm a filed candidate for this body, County Council. So thank you again for your service. So I'm very familiar with this property. It's a former site of Seifert's Florist, Ridge Road, Gum Spring, Nottingham, King Avenue, right there where they all join together. And it's very much a residential neighborhood. And I think it was allowed to stay commercial because the florists had been there for like 100 years, so it predates a lot of zoning. And what I'd like you all to keep in mind is that what the residents here are talking about is not the merits of a medical cannabis or the merits of cannabis and it helping people. Obviously, we want to help people. This is a land use issue. That's where I see Bill 4417. It's strictly a land use issue, which is the most important role of this county council, is what goes on property. And I think the key issue here is the school. The Northeast area has had a lot of overcrowding. I've been a member for over 2 years of the Northeast Area Education Advisory Council. We've had unprecedented growth. The middle school at Perry Hall Middle is one of the most overcrowded schools in the entire state of Maryland, over 2,000 students. So there are plans that we've heard about building a new middle school right here in this King Avenue, Ridge Road area, possibly a new elementary school right there in the shadows of this medical dispensary. And I think a lot of people are concerned about the future, about a company making investments in this property, and then if legalization does come in the future, this property being transformed from a medical facility into a liquor store. Under policy 3410 of transportation in Baltimore County Schools, walking distance is within 1 mile of elementary and middle schools, and you're going to have both within walking distance of this former florist property. Thank you.
Mr. Gielhar, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure. Thank you, Councilman Quirk.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand your position. So you're saying that if business makes substantial investments based on current law, that you're okay passing bills that say, well, I'm sorry, you invested $300,000 or $500,000 based on current law, but that's okay because we're just going to undo it because we're government. Is that what your position is?
I think what we're close enough to them developing on this property. I don't know how far down the road they have gone on this particular property. I know that it's been vacant for a number of years. I have seen, from the times I've gone past there, very little improvement. They haven't knocked the building down and built a new building. So where they're saying there's $1 million investment on Ridge Road, I don't know where they're coming up with that number. But after they make that investment of $1 million, do you want to change the rules on them 2-3 years when legalization comes? This is the time to decide what goes on that property now. I don't think it's too late, no.
My issue with this is a business that's making substantial investment based on current law, and now the council or some members of the council want to undo that. To me, I have a real problem with that. I mean, if I'm a business owner and I'm a business investor and I'm making substantial investment based on current law, what type of precedent do we set as a county? What type of message are we setting business? I think this is a bad approach. I think a covenant's a much better approach.
But what investment have they actually made in this property? Have they, but beyond signing a lease?
Well, I think I just heard the speaker say they've invested $350,000. Is that right, Councilman Marks? That's a lot of money. I mean, and you're saying government now comes in and says, hey, business owner, you played by the rules, you abided by the law, but too bad, we're going to pass another bill and we're going to make null and void your investment. What message are we sending to investors by doing that? I think this is a bad approach.
Well, unfortunately, the community did not know that this was coming in the shadow of a proposed school, so.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
And thank you again, Councilman Cook, for your service.
Thank you. All righty. Let's, any other questions or comments? Councilwoman Bevins?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to say, although this location is in Councilman Marks' district, we both serve the South Perry Hall Boulevard Community Association, and I'd like to thank each and every one of you for coming out today.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the council on Bill? Councilman Jones?
Let me just say that maybe this will be a notice to everyone that before you spend $350,000 or $50 million, maybe you spend 10 cents on a phone call and let the community know what's going on so that we not end up where we are today.
All righty. Let's turn to our next item, Resolution 68-17, page 62. Councilman Marks, Plan Unit Development, Towson Station.
Thank you very much. On July 5th, 2011, the Baltimore County Council passed legislation that improved the plan unit development process to give council members the ability to amend proposed PUD projects. That legislation was Bill 3611. Bill 3611 says the following: the County Council may introduce a resolution that amends or modifies a resolution adopted under paragraphs 1 and 2 of the subsection at any time within 90 days of the conclusion of the community input meeting. Clearly, the County Council that was seated in 2011, and 4 of us were serving then, anticipated that there would come a time when a plan unit development would prove so deficient that it needed to be modified so that elements could be halted from further review. That is our job. For a plan unit development, the County Council sets the conditions by which a project is reviewed. We did that in December of last year with Resolution 11316. We are the referees. With this particular project, there are many reasons that have been elaborated why we should amend the proposal to halt further review of the gasoline station. I will focus on 2, litigation and cost to the county. When the Council passed Resolution 11316, we specified a number of conditions. One said the following: the Baltimore County Design Review Panel shall review the project and make recommendations to ensure that, quote, the existing mature trees that surround the site are protected, end quote. On a rainy Friday afternoon in April, with no notification to my office or the community, the county executive staff ordered the clear cutting of those trees. Upon questioning by me at the next county council meeting, the county administrative officer said that this was done to, quote, accelerate, end quote, the sale of the property, except that the development was in no way approved and the county council had expressly ordered the integration of these mature trees into the development. Why does this matter? Well, it matters for 2 reasons. First, it is a clear violation of the council's legislative intent. If the council is going to pass laws or resolutions that will be ignored, then why are we even here? Why is there a legislative branch? Does our opinion matter? And if statute is going to be ignored in this case, then will it continue to be ignored for future issues? But second, there is the practical reality of what this has done to the review process for the plan unit development. The county has now created a deficiency that will be exploited by opponents of this project. It has further weakened the likelihood that this project will be approved at any point in the near future. I make a lot of comparisons between this plan unit development and the 101 York proposal, a project I supported despite opposition by some in the community because I thought this was appropriate for that particular location. The review of the 101 York plan unit development was approved by the County Council on May 19, 2014. 3 years later, 101 York has now been litigated all the way to Maryland's second highest court. Towson Gateway, or Towson Station, is a weaker project with stronger opposition. Baltimore County will not realize the $8.3 million in profits from the sale of the former firehouse anytime soon. Allowing this project to continue to be reviewed only extends controversy and litigation for the next 3 or 4 years well into the next county executive's term. But we have an alternative. We can end the review of the gas station component now. We can rebid the property, or we could develop only the non-controversial retail center component of this project. We can have a better development at this site sooner rather than later that is embraced by the community and extends Towson's revitalization. And we have done an awful lot of good things in Towson. We supported the development of the Flats project, that's 105 apartments. We supported the Towson Muse development, 35 townhouses. We provided greater flexibility to developers in terms of parking and signage. We've supported the improvements to Towson Commons. We've supported the revitalization of the eastern side of York Road, Green Turtle. We've passed legislation to help with Towson Row. This council has done an awful lot to champion the redevelopment of downtown Towson. But for this particular project, in the words of the Baltimore Sun, which editorialized in favor of this resolution, quote, "It's time for the county and the community to start over." Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Marks. We have 19 public speakers on this issue, but before we get to our public speakers, do any of the council members have any questions or comments for Councilman Marks on Resolution 68-17? Questions or comments from the council? All righty, so we'll do the same thing. I'll call up each speaker. I'll call the second person come up so we can move this along. If somebody does say something that you were intending to say, you can yield your time or you can repeat it as well. But we do appreciate all of you for coming out today. And Councilman Marks, thanks for this Resolution 6817 to review. So our first speaker today is Mr. John Reinhardt, followed by Avery Penn. And good afternoon, Mr. Reinhardt. Again, each speaker up to 2 minutes.
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for listening to me. I'm here representing both GTCCA as well as a member of the board of the Rogers Forge Community Association. We are both in support of this legislation. What I wanted to talk about briefly, as I'm certain there will be people behind me talking about, the impact of the community and everything else, is an overlooked facet, basically known as how did we get here? I took the time to write a letter to each of the 7 serving council members in support of this, and I received a interesting response from the office of Councilwoman Vicki Allman, where her assistant explained to me that during this entire process, only Councilman Marks was involved in putting forth the PUD, that no other council members were involved in this or advocating for this, that it was strictly on Councilman Marks. And I agree with that, but I also agree with how his position has evolved as things have taken place, as events have transpired, as facts have become known, and more importantly, as he has taken the time to listen to the residents and his constituents within the district, his position has evolved, reflecting that. As such, the PUD proposal was supported by councilmanic courtesy with no one else involved. Our councilman is now reflecting the position of the community, and I'm encouraging the council itself to support him in the very, very same manner that they did in the initial proposal. Allow him to represent us. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Avery Penn, followed by Paul Hartman. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Avery Penn, and I don't want to say a lot that everyone else is going to say, but I just have a couple of questions, have some concerns, and it's been kind of tickling at me, and it's like an itch you can't scratch. Is that when I was here before, it was stated that before you come up here, and it was stated, you tell where you live and give your address. And then today I wasn't going to speak, but I signed in. And she said, if you want to speak, where you live and what's your address. That means that how is that going to impact me? And I'd just like to ask each one of you, where do you live? And what's your address? How is it going to impact you? You don't want the assisted facility to impact you. You don't want the marijuana to impact you. You know, I'm listening at what you're saying in your meeting, and then I'm listening with my eyes and my ears, and it don't add up. So it's never too late to do the right thing.
Next speaker is Paul Hartman, followed by Joe LaBella.
Mr. Chair and council members, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Paul Hartman, and today I'm representing the Agworth Manor Association of Towson. It's located southeast of the York Road and Burke Avenue intersection. Our association supports Resolution 6817 that amends the Towson Station PUD resolution. We agree with testimony that we've already heard, and I'm sure there will be more as well, so I don't want to repeat that. But I would like to bring up two issues that I don't think really have surfaced up to now. First, now is not the time to build new gas stations. The trend is away from fossil fuels. There are new alternatives, such as electric vehicles, that are coming down in price where we can actually afford them. There are hybrid vehicles. I bought a Honda Civic Hybrid in 2002. New gas-powered cars are required to have better gas mileage, and the requirements are going to increase over time. So I realize it's hard to predict the future. I'm still waiting for my flying jetpack that I read about in Popular Science in the 60s. But in this case, the trend is clear, and the demand for gas is not likely to go up. It will probably go down in the future. So why are we building a new gas station across the street from two existing gas stations? Second, look across the street from this property on the east side of York Road. There's a Hyundai dealership and a Honda service facility, and they're both basically a large parking lot with a small building in the center of them. With the way that Towson is being redeveloped, the property values on those lots are certain to go up, and they will be redeveloped. So some sort of mixed-use development, retail, residential office, whatever, would be much preferable rather than mirror the use that's proposed for the original PUD resolution for Towson Station. That just perpetuates the junky nature of that stretch of York Road. Junk breeds more junk. And Towson Station is a very visible gateway to Towson from the north and should demand a higher level of development than currently exists in that area. So we encourage you to vote for Resolution 6817.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Our next speaker is Joe Labello, followed by Steve Seibel.
Greetings, guys. Thank you all. The Towson Manor Village Community Association has consistently stated its opposition to the Towson Gateway Rural Farms gas station development. We're pleased that Councilman Marks has introduced legislation to withdraw the gas component of the PUD. Although our position has been, as I've said to Councilman Marks before in the past, that PUD should never have been introduced at all, considering the overwhelming community opposition at the community input meeting. We hope and implore the County Council will support Councilman Marks' resolution. Towson, the seat of the Baltimore County government, deserves the best and most forward-thinking redevelopment, which should be exemplary for the rest of the county. What example is set when the county government violates the PUD legislation by cutting down 30 mature trees, presumably to subsidize the developer's land remediation costs, when no clear public benefit has been established, when hundreds of residents have explicitly said no? This is a valuable property that merits a strategic use. It is bad logic for me, in my opinion, to sell a real estate asset just to add 12 pumps to an already densely gassed area. There's 8 within a mile and a half of that site. We don't need a use that encourages further destruction of the earth and the environment. The county should support a more humanistic approach to address current gaps in public health policy, as well as those expected to rise with the future growth of Towson. All you have to do is simply cast your gaze around town, and you'll see neighbors and fellow citizens in need. Right? This property provides a unique opportunity to serve the most vulnerable members of our community, and at minimum, right, that's our personal opinion, at minimum the county should ensure that development at the site is beneficial to Baltimore County, Greater Towson residents, and developers, right, and the current PUD does not achieve this. It will neither improve the community, character, environment, or walkability of Towson. And I'm pretty much going to see the rest of my time. And the only thing that I really want to say, you guys received a letter from us, is I wish that Councilman Marks would do the same thing with Resolution 4014. And thank you, guys.
Thank you. Next speaker is Steve Seibel, followed by Maria Shakamas. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Chairman Quirk and members of the Baltimore County Council. My name is Steve Seibel, and I'm a partner with Case Valley Partners. I am quite familiar with the practice of councilmatic courtesy, which is generally and historically honored by this council. There have been instances, though, where councilmatic courtesy has not been followed in cases where it is not warranted. Clearly, this is one of those cases. According to Webster's Dictionary, courtesy means the showing of politeness in one's attitude and behavior towards others. Councilman Marks' behavior throughout this transaction does not warrant your courtesy. Allow me to elaborate. He voted for the contract, which requires a PUD. He then pressured the county to build him a new fire station, knowing that the proceeds of this contract were needed to help fund the station. He then dawdled over introducing the PUD for 9 months, while he, 1, extracted additional concessions from CVP, and 2, leveraged you all to support Radebaugh Park and other things that he wanted, and only then did he ask you to support the PUD. After you all voted for the contract and the PUD, he now wants to gut the PUD by removing the most important component, thereby opening up the county to substantial liability. Finally, just last week, Councilman Marks unfairly used Pat Turner without providing Turner any facts about the process or history. Mr. Turner, now knowing those facts, rescinded his offer. That is not courteous behavior. That is not how Baltimore County has ever done business. And who wins here? Not us. Case Valley Partners, a true supporter of the Towson community whose name has been dragged through the mud for attempting to put a gas station on a corner where it clearly belongs. Not Royal Farms, a generous, locally owned business which has been unfairly vilified. And certainly not this council, which has been dragged into a mess created by Councilman Marks over and over again. Nobody wins here. This is not the time for councilmatic courtesy. It is time for leadership and fairness. And I ask you to vote against this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Seibel. Councilman, I would ask if we could all keep this professional, and please let's keep order. Councilman Marks, did you want to say something?
I would like everyone in the audience who supported Rada Ballpark through an email or a phone call to the county executive's office to please stand up. Please stand up. Okay. Beth Miller and the Green Towson Alliance collected 1,000 signatures in support of that project. I just can't believe that County Executive Kevin Kamenetz would listen to a developer over the thousands of people who supported Rada Ballpark. I think he did it because it was the right thing to do, and the community supported that project. Thank you.
All right, our next speaker is Maria Shakamis, followed by Ron Council. Shakamakis? There you go. Well, thank you for coming today.
Well, first off, I'd like to say I'm very sorry that I'm following the previous speaker, who I wholeheartedly disagree with. My name is Maria Chekmakis. I have been a Stoneleigh resident for over 20 years, and I'm a registered Democrat. I'm here to speak against the PUD project and hope sincerely that you will support David Marks and his constituents in this endeavor. I have gone to the last community input meeting, and I have seen the plans for this project. Basically, this project is a glorified travel plaza, a travel plaza that you find off of a highway where trucks, cars can go, fuel up, use the facilities, grab some food, and get back on the highway. The fact that this includes diesel fuel is most upsetting to me. Diesel means trucks coming off the highway, traveling through our streets in order to fuel up. And what is really, I don't know whether it's funny or obnoxious, but the developer said that he has outside seating space with benches, and it looks pretty with flowers, and some restaurants that will have outside seating. Who in their right minds wants to sit outside with their families and friends and eat food while you are inhaling and smelling gas and diesel fumes? This project has been called the Gateway to Towson. Gateway implies the entrance to a community, to a place that we are all proud of. If that is the case, are we proud to say that this is the gateway to our community, that when you enter our community, this is more of what you will find? This is not what Towson already is, nor should it be. Please support us and David Marks in this endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Ron Council, followed by Brenda Boyden. Good afternoon, Mr. Council.
Good afternoon. I'm here in support of Resolution 6817, but first I would like to thank all of the members of the council. I know that you're extremely busy, and then this has been a lot of time and effort poured into this by each and every one of you, and we recognize that in the responses we get to all of our inquiries and comments. So thank you. I'm here to speak on a couple of legal matters, the first being the requirement in the PUD statute that the community be involved in this process. The purpose of a plan unit development is for a community and a developer to work together to build a project that will be of substantially higher quality than what otherwise could be achieved at the location. Community input is a requirement of this process, and I want to give you an indication of how the community has been treated during this process from the most recent community input meeting, where over 200 people appeared opposing the project, and the general response to our concerns was this quote from the developer's representative, and I quote, "It's on you all. To the extent that you want to go and oppose it, and then there's one person, a judge, who makes that decision. This is not how this process is supposed to work. Having a development forced on us and then told us, challenged the community to go fight it in court." Plan unit development is not an opportunity for a developer to simply circumvent zoning laws. The current zoning permits a variety of uses at that location: a grocery store, residential, an office building. Your role as the county council in this, as Councilman Marks pointed out, you are the referees. It is up to you to decide, does a gas station meet that standard of substantially higher quality? And I would ask you, and I'll end on this, I will ask you to do this exercise between now and the vote that I did with my wife and my 3 children. Please try to think of a development that would be worse than a gas station at that location from an environmental standpoint, a sustainability standpoint, a walkable standpoint, and all of the other elements that are included in the Towson Master Plan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Brenda Bodine, followed by Marcia McLaughlin. Good afternoon. Thank you for coming.
Good afternoon. My name is Brenda Bodine, president of BJB Realty Advisors. I have 32 years of experience working in all aspects of commercial real estate, so this is my perspective. We can spend years in meetings and litigation, or we can make progress. If we wait too long, we'll lose an opportunity. Please vote in favor of Resolution 6817. Let's get a fresh start now while the market is strong and interest rates are low. The flurry of residential and retail development in the Towson market in the last few years is clear evidence that we have a good opportunity now, but not perhaps later. My recommendations: don't worry about the cost of the fire station. Do it the old way. Issue a bond. I'll buy one. Put out a new request for proposals for the site. Make sure that it's required to meet the existing zoning and the master plan, and require respondents to provide for your information net operating income that they project for 10 years, because their assessments on their taxes in commercial are based on the NOI. Market the RFP much more widely, not just to developers, yes, to developers, but also to end users. It could be corporations, a headquarters, who knows, but wider distribution. Then award extra points for things that provide more benefit to us. An example would be to bring more good-paying jobs, like education and health services, whose payrolls increased 38% in the area since 2000. Create more density on the site. If you take half of that site and put a high-density use there and use the whole rest for open space or anything else, you will get 5 to 7 times more taxes than a low-density use like this current proposal. Incorporate public gardens with trees like the one around this building, or a walking path with trees and all those nice things like New York's High Line. That will increase property values there and around. So take the time to take a good step. It's the time.
Thank you. Our next speaker, Marcia McLaughlin, followed by Eddie Marbury.
Mr. Chairman, council members, I have 40 years of experience in planning and development management, so I understand how hard it is to turn a project like this around and to tell a developer to change direction. However, it's absolutely imperative to try and stop it now before it spends any more time or any more dollars on a project that really isn't going to ever be realized. Baltimore County has been promoting the evolution of Towson as its urban center for 25 years. We have all kinds of planning documents, zoning documents. The community has participated for 25 plus years, and it's amazing that we still can't adhere to those. Most recently, the downtown Towson overlay clearly includes this site as being part of the downtown, whereas on the north side of Bosley all the way up to Hunt Valley, it's allowed to be suburban strip commercial. The earliest plans, the Towson Community Plan in 1990, clearly designated Delaney and York, as well as Joppa, as important urban entrances, and the importance of building at higher densities in a more urban way, pedestrian-friendly, all of those things. If you look at Delaney Valley Now or Joppa, they have done very well in terms of redevelopment to create an urban character. If you drive in on Delaney, there's, a hotel, we've got high-rise office and residential in both locations, whereas York Road has not done that. It's really kind of retained the strip commercial character. You see that very clearly when you come in. I assume many of you come in from the Beltway, and when you're driving down York Road, what you see is a lot of gas stations and 3 different choices for burger places, and you don't really get a sense of what's behind those communities. We've seen a lot of change along that area, just a stone's throw from York Road. The investment building done by the Caves, it's been a great project along with the flats and the promenade and many other apartment projects in the area. It's completely changed the character of what's happening in that northern part of downtown, and we need to build on that. And in closing, I just wanted to say the community is not NIMBY. We are not anti-development. We want good development that's consistent with the plans we've all been working on for all these many years. We want attractive, walkable, mixed-use development and not a continuation of old strip commercial development. We want the future, not the past. And I ask for your support for this resolution.
Thank you. Next speaker is Eddie Marbury, followed by Jennifer Shapiro.
Excuse me, I'm a bit nervous. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the council. My name is Eddie Marbury, and I'm speaking on behalf of Mount Olive Baptist Church. We have heard from other members of the community who've spoken to you about the ideas of gas versus green, walkability, and the fact that there were some things that were not done that were supposed to. I ask you now to consider some of those individuals who are trying to worship. Our church has been on that spot for 130 years. We have heard that there are all sorts of things that we need to consider. One of the things we need to consider are those who are choosing to worship. That area was once called Sandy Bottom. It endured through all of the changes that have taken place over time. It has had those who once lived there forced to move away, yet they still come back to that spot to worship. The members will always return. My pastor spoke before you, and I trust that you remember his words. I now ask you to pass this resolution so that we, who are the members of Mount Olive Baptist Church, do not have to find ourselves unable to worship. He would always say, it's a good day to be alive and well in Towson, Maryland. I urge you to consider him being able to make those words even truer than before. For a once small church on a corner that is now a building that adds to the gateway of Towson and its parishioners. I hope that you will take into account all of the lives of the individuals who choose to worship there. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Jennifer Shapiro, followed by John Weaver. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, members of the council. First of all, I'm not going to talk about how I feel about this resolution because everybody else has. I wanted to talk about how I felt about the community input meeting of May 8th. But first, let me say how much my family and I have enjoyed living in this neighborhood for the past 11 years. That said, I hope that all the council people have had an opportunity to watch the 2 short video clips which characterized the tone of the community input meeting of May 8th, where the developer either had no answer, denied our requests, refused to share information, or told us we could argue our side in court. None of these responses meet the purposes of a community input meeting for a PUD, and I was disheartened, to say the least. A neighbor wanted to know how his property would be affected by the excessive and poorly designed lighting and signage. Neither the developer nor the engineer on the project had any details about this. There was a question regarding the removal of the 30 mature trees. I'm not going to belabor that. It already has been. However, we wanted to know who authorized it. The developer refused to comment and passed the question on to the county. The two county representatives present insisted they did not order the trees to be removed. However, when we asked about the 36 remaining trees that act as a barrier between the Immaculate Conception School and the site of the proposed Royal Farm stores, and whether those trees, we were told that Caves Valley intends to cut those trees down as well. So that was one of the few times in the evening that we did get a definitive answer to our questions. We asked about the excessive paving required for the 58 additional parking spaces. Where is the open space required by the downtown district overlay? The answer, we're at a conceptual stage and we'll define these areas later. I could go on, I'm out of time, but please realize that this project cannot be turned around if ever, and these gas pumps will be in the ground in perpetuity, and please, let's do away with this PUD. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is John Weaver, followed by Beth Miller. Good afternoon, Mr. Weaver.
Yeah, good afternoon, council members. Yeah, my name is John Weaver, and I'm Vice President of the West House Neighborhood Association, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak before you today, especially on this particularly important issue. As a board member of WTNA, our association represents the constituents that would be most affected by this PUD, and more specifically, the residents of Morningside Drive would be most impacted by the installation of the gas station on the corners of York and Bosley. Though we disagreed with Councilmember Marks initially introducing the PUD, I understand where he was coming from. I was hoping that the developer and the constituents of the West House community could come together to see the manifestation of a project that would be mutually beneficial to everybody. However, this has not been the case. As a member of the WTNA, the overwhelming majority of feedback that we have received shows that the community is in direct opposition to this project. In Councilmember Marks' defense, he did see how incensed the population was. In a meeting open to the public at Shepherd Pratt in May, as you've already heard, and in subsequent legislation when he introduced this back in June, where all of you got to hear the incensed nature of those affected by the community. During both of these meetings, the overwhelming majority that I believe that you have seen is in clear opposition to this project. We have heard that council members are not necessarily happy with one another, but I respectfully ask that this not be a factor when deciding on something that will so deeply affect our community. We ask only one thing, that you extend councilmanic courtesy to David Marks. Councilman Marks realizes that this is a bad project, and we ask that you support him and by extension the constituents of the West House community. Now is not the time to forego councilmanic courtesy. Remember that all of you were elected by your constituents to serve their needs. We ask that you allow David Marks to represent us and support us and vote in support of Resolution 6817. Thank you for your time this afternoon.
Our next speaker is Beth Miller, followed by Amy Rickkemper. Good afternoon.
So I'm compelled to address this accusation that Councilman Marks used this PUD to obtain Radabaugh Park and other benefits for his district. I just want to give you a short background on information I have about the history on that. As you know, the administration announced the plan to purchase that piece of property a little over 2 years ago. And then by the fall of that same year, they were backpedaling because they said that the cost of demolition was excessive. At that point, the Green Towson Alliance collaborated with our state legislator and state senator to try to get bond funds. The county committed to matching those bond funds in March. 5 months later, the Raid of Oz received a contract offer asking them to absorb the entire cost of demolition on that property. They weren't happy. We spoke to our delegate. Our delegate contacted someone in the administration, and that afternoon, the Raid of Oz were asked to have another meeting to talk about a contract that did not include the cost of demolition for them not to have to absorb that cost. And then by September 28th, we were informed by the Raid of Oz family that they had reached an agreement with the county. Sadly, the administration continues to drag its feet on this property. The neighbors and former owners are distraught to see broken glass, vermin, weeds all over the property, and we're being told that demolition won't occur until 2018. So we have to challenge the notion that the Raid of Oz property was promised in exchange for this PUD, and now the councilman is pulling the PUD since he got what he wanted. We are not getting what we wanted still. I really need to say this. If the council wants to punish Councilman Marks for something perceived or real that they think he has done, I beg you to find some other way to do that. Please do not punish the citizens of Towson for whatever you think Councilman Marks may or may not have done. Do the right thing. Vote yes on this resolution. Rise above that sort of thing, please.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Amy Reckhemper, followed by Chris Mudd.
What, beat me up?
Hello, my name is Amy Reckhemper, and I graduated from Towson University in 1998. And I liked it here so much that I decided to stay. I bought a house, I started a company here, and I've been raising my family here ever since. Towson is my home. And like the rest of my neighbors, I've been closely following this PUD debacle for the last 4 years. And in the last year, I decided to get actively involved. Not because I had spare time, I promise, but because I couldn't believe that our community was having to go to such incredible lengths to be heard. Finally, our councilperson has listened. Thank you. And we have a resolution on the table to remove the gas. Now, the only thing left is you. We need 4 votes. And we want to know which of you is going to stand with the people. Because it's the people that own this land. This is county-owned property. We pay taxes. We live here. We work here. We go to school here. We shop here. And you know what? We vote here in Baltimore County. And I just hope that our collective voices will matter more to you than the developers who want to shove their bad ideas down our throats just to make a buck. Because after 4 years of this, if we can't just get 4 votes from you, from our elected officials that are supposed to vote on our behalf, it's going to hurt. And it's not just going to hurt because this will mean we're forced to deal with the traffic congestion and the crime and the pollution that inevitably comes when you dump a 24-hour gas station in the residential neighborhood. But it's going to hurt even more because we're going to come to the realization that this system has failed us and our voices don't matter. Because we've done everything in our power as citizens to fight this. We've collected 1,278 signatures on a petition. We've gathered by the hundreds at community input meetings. We've called you, we've emailed you, we've written you letters, we've written letters to the editor, we have yard signs, we have rally signs, we have flyers. We even have a Facebook presence. And I know I'm out of time, but I've used the word we a lot, and I think it only fair to ask those in the audience who feel that they are part of this we and who want to save Towson's Gateway to stand. And in closing, please don't punish us with partisan politics. On August 7th at the 6 o'clock meeting, please stand with the people and vote yes on the resolution to remove gas from our gateway. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Chris Mudd, followed by Ron Gallup.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. First, thank you for removing the tripping hazard that was over here. It's a big improvement for sure. I'm here representing Caves Valley Partners, the contract purchaser and the developer of the Towson Station project. I'm speaking in opposition to Resolution 6817. The property was one of several county-owned properties that the county sought to sell in 2013 when it requested proposals from interested buyers. It was not just looking for the highest bidder, it requested specific development proposals. 5 bidders responded. 2 of those bidders included a fuel service station use at this site. The county first awarded the bid to a project with residential uses over a Harris Teeter. As we understand it, the bid fell through because the bidder could not demonstrate that the Harris Teeter was able to come to that site or was committed to that site. The county then awarded the bid to one of the 2 proposals with fuel service, that being the Royal Farms project. The county and Caves Valley Partners negotiated a contract in which the county insisted that the sale be conditioned upon final unappealable approval of a planned unit development with a Royal Farms fuel service station. Councilman Marks asked his fellow council members to vote for this contract. Caves Valley Partners then applied for the required planned unit development. The PUD resolution came before the council after months in limbo, and Councilman Marks again asked for you to vote for him with this project with the Caves Valley's with the Royal Farms use. In reliance on the contract and resolution, Caves Valley Partners has spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to bring this project forward. And now Councilman Marks is essentially asking you to undo your prior votes and to vote to undermine the contract and the prior resolution. That vote could put the county at risk of legal action on the existing valid contract that the council approved. It has also been made public that Councilman Marks has spoken with at least one other prospective developer about offering to purchase the property while it's still under contract with the county. We're now aware that that other developer has withdrawn the proposal. But in short, all of this conduct puts Baltimore County in a bad light, and it exposes the county to significant liability. I ask that you oppose this resolution. Thank you.
Mr. Mudd, if I could ask you a question. So you will concede that the law basically says that the council initiates a review of the project and that today is appropriate under the current law.
Pardon me? Pardon me?
The law says that the county council initiates a review of a planned unit development, and today's proceedings are consistent with the law, right?
Well, it does allow a review, or initiates a review of the planned unit development. I'm not sure what the second question you're asking.
In other words, what we're doing today is totally consistent with the law, as it says that we can stop a review of any element of a planned unit development.
The law does permit a council to bring a resolution back in a proceeding.
Okay, my final point, and I'm going to ask this because I feel a bit sorry for you because you were at the community input meeting getting all these questions, but I'm going to ask it here. Do you think that the county administration violated the spirit of the law, the resolution we passed in December, by destroying those trees?
I was wondering whether you were going to ask the question. I have the same answer that I did at the council meeting, at the community input meeting, which is that the county owns the property. The county took the trees down. They've made a statement, and I have nothing further to offer.
Okay, thank you. A lot of people do think they violated that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I apologize. I'm going to have to excuse myself. I have to go to a meeting, but Councilman Jones is going to finish up the speakers. But thank you all very much for coming out. All of you appreciate the tone and how you're keeping it on the issue. Thank you. Councilman Jones.
Yes. Josh Gleakin. Oh, okay, Ron. And then Josh, you're on the on-deck circle.
Thank you very much, Council. I will quote the Council from today as it's relevant regarding Bill 4317. Councilwoman Almond, bins are unsightly and irritate me. Now you know how we feel about the gas station that would come in. Same thing regarding that. Councilman Quirk stated good businesses make investments based on current law. The PUD was not part of the current law. The PUD is a way around the current law and the zoning, so gas stations were not supposed to be here. Bill 4417 as well. Mr. Jones, Councilman Jones, before spending $350,000, talk with the community. Caves Valley, does that make sense? That's what we've been asking you. You avoided talking with us all the way and accused us of being paid to protest. Where is my envelope of pay? I didn't get paid. I and the others protesting this had one purpose in mind, and that is our community. We want it to be livable. We don't want gas. You are in it for the money. That's why you think we might be getting paid. We are not. We are here for the community. We have a voice. Council members, please be the vanguard that you are supposed to be and vote for this resolution and end this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Josh, and on the on-deck circle will be Nicole Risser.
Wow. Well, I'm going to disappoint if you're expecting a performance like that. But I agree
We
with.
hope that you keep the comments directed towards the council,
I
not
agree.
the audience.
Right. I agree with what's been said, and I'm not going to repeat any of it. What disappoints me is something that was on display here by the two representatives of Caves Valley Partners. Bullying happens at all levels. It's not just our kids. And this council was just told today, instead of saying, we went through the PUD, and here are the ways where we address the community's concerns. Here are the good faith ways in which we went to this community input meeting that this council requires, that the law requires, and this council passed. Here are all the good faith efforts we've made. We didn't get that. We got two, I would say, if not implied, direct threats to sue the county. The county should not give in because a lawyer and the officer of a company threatened to sue it unless it approves a project that the process of community input showed shouldn't be awarded. That's what, I mean, that's the whole problem. What you saw on display today from the two representatives, where they didn't explain at all how they've complied with the PUD process and satisfied the community, is exactly the treatment that the community has received from the start. It's been a bullying process. It's been, if you don't like it, you can go tell it to a judge. Every question we ask that are very legitimate questions, no answer. We've raised issues about traffic studies. They've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars, they say. We have never seen a traffic study. They knew this was a concern. They've never showed any of us how this isn't going to impact the traffic. So I don't know whether they're investing their money, but you can't give in to a bully. You can't do it. This process doesn't allow for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Nicole Risser and Glenn Gilhard. You'll be next.
Good afternoon, and thank you, County Council. I'm here for probably three reasons. The first and foremost is to issue a formal apology and a public apology to David Marks. I have been in the forefront of the people of Morningside Drive who have been perhaps bullying David Marks to change his position and to listen to the voices of the community. And it is perhaps the most gratifying thing that has happened in this entire ungratifying experience is to have an elected politician have the bravery and the humility to change his position. And so I thank you. I don't think you have to punish him anymore. I think the process has been punishing enough. So I do hope that you will stand with the community. I want to say, furthermore, for the people on Morningside Drive, that it has been incredibly emotionally frustrating for our children, that residents' rights and property rights have been pitted against the rights, presumably, of businesses that are not voters in this process. Caves Valley, unfortunately, in regard to this particular project, has acted in such a way as to not come forward with information and to benefit, and I would say to use backdoor politics to pressure other politicians. Particularly, I would say, and I'm sorry, that Kevin Kamenetz has not been around to hear ever once, our complaints from the people of Towson about this project, and he has been a backer of Caves Valley and Arthur Adler. So I thank you very much for backing Mr. Marks now at this point.
Thank you very much, Ms. Risser. Glenn Gilhard.
Good afternoon. My name is Glenn Gilhar. Live in Parkville, Maryland, on Windsor Road. Born and raised in Parkville. One of the great things about living in eastern Baltimore County, whether it's Towson, Parkville, Rosedale, Chase, is the character of our neighborhoods. We have a lot of businesses that have been around for generations. My very first job, 1980, dating myself, was at 8401 Hartford Road, Parkville, Exxon. I still remember the address. And this was a gas station that was family-owned. At the end of the day, after the owner, paid his rent, paid his few employees, he was able to raise a family in Perry Hall. And when I look around at some of these big mega convenience store gas stations that have gone up in the area, I have to ask you, if you look at some of these other projects, take a little road trip, go down Route 40 and look at the corner of Ebenezer Road and Route 40, and you'll see that one of these big convenience gas stations has opened up, but the Shell station and the Gulf station, have since closed. They're boarded up, have for lease signs out front. So, my assumption is that the mom and pop, who ran those businesses just couldn't compete with the big corporation. So, Towson's an area that's got a lot of character. Again, in this particular corridor, there's businesses that have been there for 100 years. And so I ask that you look not only at the new thing that you're thinking about going in here, so much as its impact on the businesses that surround them. And I believe it could be a negative impact. And we have a lot of positive things happen in Towson. I just think we can have a better project. Thank you.
Thank you, Clay. Okay. I believe this will conclude all the testimony on Resolution 6817. I want to thank everyone for coming out today and making your voices known, expressing your concerns to the council about all the resolutions and bills that came before us today. And before I close the meeting or ask for a motion to adjourn, I'd like to give the council members one more opportunity if they'd like to make a comment on anything we talked about today.
Just thank you to everyone who attended. Thank you very much.
Okay. Hearing none other than Councilman Marks, I'd like to ask for a resolution.
I'll move.
Do I have a second? So be it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. This concludes the work session for August 1st. All right. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you.